Good morrow, scholars. Welcome to Iguana Theater, starring Iggy and Ben Iguana. There I am. Hey, I don't know why I said that. Okay, so I'm sure by now you guys are aware that a series of unfortunate events has been adapted into a TV series. Well, a Netflix series. Uh, for those that don't know, a series of unfortunate events is a story of the lives of the Baudelaire children, uh, three, Violet, Klaus, and Sunny, and their series of unfortunate events in their lives caused by Count Olaf, amongst others, and they try and survive. Anywho, the series is really good. I highly recommend it. In fact, go ahead and stop this video now. Go take a look. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and then come back. Because what I decided to do, while we wait for the next season to come out of a series of unfortunate events, was to start reading from where they left off. So I have here the Austere Academy. It was not one of my most favorite books out of the 13, but I enjoyed it. I just thought it'd be a nice little fun thing for us to do. Now, with that long-winded explanation out of the way, dear reader, or viewer in this case, if you are looking for a story about cheerful youngsters spending a jolly time at boarding school, look elsewhere. Violet, Klaus, and Sunny Baudelaire are intelligent and resourceful children, and you might expect that they would do very well at school. Don't. For the Baudelaires, school turns out to be another miserable episode in their unlucky lives. Truth be told, within the chapters that make up this dreadful story, the children will face snapping crabs, that's weird, strict punishments, dripping fungus, comprehensive exams, violin recitals, SORE, SORE, and the metric system. It is my solemn duty to stay up all night researching and writing the history of these three hapless youngsters, but you may be more comfortable getting a good night's sleep. In that case, you should probably choose some other book. With all due respect, let me stick it. I bought some of the books at my local half-price books. A Series of Unfortunate Events, Book the Fifth, The Austere Academy by Lemony Snicket. Illustrations by Brett Helquist. Helquist? I've never been sure. For Beatrice, you will always be in my heart, in my mind, and in your grave. What? Chapter 1. If you were going to give a gold medal to the least delightful person on earth, you would have to give that medal to a person named Carmelita Spatz, and if you didn't give it to her, Carmelita Spatz was the sort of person who would snatch it from your hands anyway. Carmelita Spatz was rude, she was violent, and she was filthy. And it really is a shame that I must describe her to you, because there are enough ghastly and distressing things in this story without even mentioning such an unpleasant person. It is the Baudelaire orphans, thank goodness, who are the heroes of this story, not the dreadful Carmelita Spatz. And if you wanted to give a gold medal to Violet, Klaus, and Sunny Baudelaire, it would be for survival in the face of adversity. Adversity is a word which here means trouble, and there are very few people in this world who have had the sort of troubling adversity that follows these three children wherever they go. Sorry, allergies are acting up, so you know how it is. Anyway. Their trouble began one day when they were relaxing at the beach and received the distressing news that their parents had been killed in a terrible fire, and so were sent to live with a distant relative named Count Olaf. His name rhymes with rice pilaf. If you were going to give a gold medal to Count Olaf, you would have to lock it up somewhere or someplace before the awarding ceremony, because Count Olaf was such a greedy and evil man that he would try to steal it beforehand. The Baudelaire orphans did not have a gold medal, but they did have an enormous fortune that their parents had left them, and it was that fortune Count Olaf tried to snatch. These three siblings survived living with Count Olaf, but just barely. And since then, Olaf had followed them followed them everywhere, usually accompanied by one or more of his sinister and ugly associates. No matter who was caring for the Baudelaires, Count Olaf was always right behind them, performing such dastardly deeds that I can scarcely list them all. Kidnapping, murder, nasty phone calls, disguises, poison, hypnosis, and atrocious cooking are just some of the adversities the Baudelaire orphans survived at his hands. Even worse, Count Olaf had a bad habit of avoiding capture, so he was always sure to turn up again. It is truly awful that this keeps happening, but that is how the story goes. That explains the ending. Never mind. I only tell you that the story goes this way because you are about to become acquainted with rude, violent, filthy Carmelita Spatz. And if you can't stand reading about her, you had best put this book down and read something else, or in your case, watch something else. Because it only gets worse from here. Before too long, Violet, Klaus, and Sonny Baudelaire will have so much adversity that being shoved aside by Carmelita Spatz will look like a trip to the ice cream store. Should I try and do voices? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Anywho, get out of my way, you cake sniffers, said a rude, violent, and filthy little girl, shoving the Baudelaire orphans aside as she dashed by. Violet, Klaus, and Sonny were too startled to answer. They were standing on a sidewalk made of bricks. That's weird. Which must have been very old because there was a great deal of dark moss oozing out from in between them. Surrounding the sidewalk was a vast brown lawn that looked like it had never been watered, and on the lawn were hundreds of children running in various directions. Occasionally someone would slip and fall to the ground, only to get back up and keep running. It looked exhausting and pointless, two things that should be avoided at all costs, but the Baudelaire orphans barely glanced at the other children, keeping their eyes on the mossy bricks below them. Shyness is a curious thing. Like quicksand, it can strike people at any time. Also, like quicksand, it usually makes its victims look down. I can vouch for that. This was to be the Baudelaire's first day at preparatory school. Sorry. And all three siblings found that they would rather look at the oozing moss than at anything else. Sorry. Let's see, what's a good voice for Mr. Poe? That wasn't on purpose. Have you dropped something? Mr. Poe asked, coughing into a white handkerchief. One place the Baudelaire certainly didn't want to look at was Mr. Poe. That's mean, but understandable. Who was walking closely behind them? Mr. Poe was a banker who had been placed in charge of the Baudelaire's affairs following the terrible fire, and this had turned out to be a lousy idea. Mr. Poe meant well, but a jar of mustard probably also means well, and would do a better job of keeping the Baudelaires out of danger. Violet, Klaus, and Sonny had long ago learned that the only thing they could count on from Mr. Poe was that he was always coughing. No, Violet replied, we haven't dropped anything. Violet was the oldest Baudelaire, and usually she was not shy at all. Violet liked to invent things, and one could often find her thinking hard about her latest invention, with her hair tied up in a ribbon to keep it out of her eyes. When her inventions were done, she liked to show them to people she knew, who were usually very impressed with her skill. Right now, as she looked down at the mossy bricks, she thought of a machine she could build that could keep the moss from growing on the sidewalk. But she felt too nervous to talk about it. I would love to know what that is. What if none of the teachers, children, or administrative staff were interested in her inventions? As if he were reading her thoughts, Klaus put a hand on Violet's shoulder, and she smiled at him. Klaus had known for all 12 of his years that his older sister found a hand on her shoulder comforting, as long as the hand was attached to an arm, of course. It's a fair point. I never would have thought about it that way. Although Mr. Arnold from Jurassic Park, now that I think about it, that was a hand attached to an arm, and that didn't work out too well. Normally, Klaus would have said something comforting as well, but he was feeling as shy as his sister. Most of the time, Klaus would be found doing what he liked to do best, which was reading. Some mornings, one could find him in bed with his glasses on because he had been reading so late and he was too tired to take them off. It's very dangerous. You might break them. Unless you don't move at all in your sleep, which would be weird. Klaus looked down at the sidewalk and remembered a book he had read called Moss Mysteries, but he felt too shy to bring it up. What if preparatory school had nothing good to read? Sunny, the youngest Baudelaire, looked up at her siblings, and Violet smiled and picked her up. This was easy to do because Sunny was a baby and only a little bit larger than a loaf of bread. That's cute. I'm hungry. I made breakfast. Why didn't I eat before eating? Anyway. Oh. I'm so dumb sometimes. Anyway. Sunny was also too nervous to say anything, although it was often difficult to understand what she said when she did speak up. For instance, if Sunny had not been feeling so shy, she might have opened her mouth, revealing 4 sharp teeth, and said, "Marimo, that's the best I got. Leave me alone. I'll work on it as we go." Which may have meant, "I hope there are plenty of things to bite at school, because biting things is one of my favorite things to do." I really do need to cough. "I know why you all are so quiet," Mr. Poe said. "It's because you're excited, and I don't blame you. I always wanted to go to boarding school when I was younger, but I never had the chance. I'm a little jealous of you, if you want to know the truth." The Baudelaires looked at one another. The fact that preparatory school was a boarding school was the part that made them feel the most nervous. If no one was interested in inventions, or there was nothing to read, or biting wasn't allowed, they were stuck here, or stuck there, not only all day, but all night as well. The siblings wished that if Mr. Poe were really jealous of them, he would attend preparatory school himself, and they could work at the bank. "You're very lucky to be here," Mr. Poe continued. "I had to call more than 4 schools before I found one that could take all 3 of you at such short notice. Prufrock Prep, that's what they call it, as a sort of nickname, is a very fine academy. The teachers all have advanced degrees. The dormitory rooms are all finely furnished." Allergies. Although it comes in handy because Mr. Poe's at the start of the story and he's very rarely in the middle. Let's see. "And most important of all, there is an advanced computer system which will keep Count Olaf away from you. Vice Principal Nero told me that Count Olaf's complete description, everything from his one long eyebrow to the tattoo of an eye on his left ankle, has been programmed into the computer, so you 3 should be safe here for the next several years." "But how can a computer keep Count Olaf away?" Violet asked in a puzzled voice, still looking down at the ground. "It's an advanced computer," Mr. Poe said, as if the word "advanced" were a proper explanation instead of a word meaning having attained advancement. "Don't worry your little heads about Count Olaf. Vice Principal Nero has promised me that he will keep a close eye on you. After all, a school as advanced, there you go, as Prufrock Prep wouldn't allow people to simply run around loose. You'd be surprised." "Move, cake sniffers," the rude, violent, and filthy little girl said as she dashed by them again. Are they running around in a circle? It's been many years since I read the series, so I'm going to forget a few things, so bear with me. Anyway, what does cake sniffers mean? Violet murmured to Klaus, who had an enormous vocabulary. I don't, from all his reading. "I don't know," Klaus admitted, "but it doesn't sound very nice." "What a charming word it is," Mr. Poe said. I know his voice is changing, but it's all the coughing. "Cake sniffers. I don't know what it means, but it reminds me of pastry." "Oh, well, here we are." Cough. They had come to the end of the mossy brick sidewalk and stood in front of the school. The Baudelaires looked up at their new home and gasped in surprise. Had they not been staring at the sidewalk the whole way across the lawn, they would have seen what the academy looked like. but perhaps it was best to delay looking at it for as long as possible. A person who designs buildings is called an architect, but in the case of Prufrock Prep, a better term might be depressed architect. The school was made up of several buildings, all made of smooth gray stone, and the buildings were grouped together in a sort of sloppy line. To get to the buildings, the Baudelaires had to walk beneath an immense stone arch, casting a curved shadow on the lawn, like a rainbow in which all of the colors were gray or black. That sounds kind of nice, actually. On the arch were the words Prufrock Preparatory School in enormous black letters, and then in smaller letters, the motto of the school, Memento Mori. I don't know the exact translation, but it can be translated to mean remember that you will die, or remember your mortality. But it was not the buildings or the arch that made the children gasp. It was how the buildings were shaped, rectangular but with a rounded top. A rectangle with a rounded top is a strange shape, and the orphans could only think of one thing with that shape. To the Baudelaires, each building looked exactly like a gravestone. Rather odd architecture, Mr. Poe commented. Each building looks like a thumb. In any case, you are to report to Vice Principal Nero's office immediately. It's on the 9th floor of the main building. Aren't you coming with us, Mr. Poe? Violet asked. Violet was 14, and she knew that 14 years old was not enough to go to somebody's office by herself. But she felt nervous about walking, or was old enough, to go to someone's office by herself, but she felt nervous about walking into such a sinister-looking building without an adult nearby. Mr. Poe coughed into his handkerchief and looked at his wristwatch at the same time. I'm afraid not, he said, and then his coughing passed. The banking day has already begun, but I've talked over everything with Vice Principal Nero, and if there's any problem, remember you can always contact me or any of my associates at Mortuary Money Management. Has a rather odd taste. Now off you go. Have a wonderful time at Prufrock Prep. I'm sure we will, said Violet, sounding much braver than she felt. Thank you for everything, Mr. Poe. Yes, thank you, Klaus said, shaking the banker's hand. To your front, Sunny said, which was her way of saying thank you. You're welcome, all of you, Mr. Poe said. So long. He nodded at all three Baudelaires, and Violet and Sunny watched him walk back down the mossy sidewalk, carefully avoiding the running children. But Klaus didn't watch him. Klaus was looking at the enormous arch over the academy. Maybe I don't know what cake sniffer means, Klaus said, but I think I can translate our school's new motto. It doesn't even look like it's in English, Violet said, peering up at it. Rancho. Hee. Sunny agreed. It's not, Klaus said. It's in Latin. Many mottos are in Latin, for some reason. I don't know the reason. If someone does, be sure to let me know down in the comments. I love learning things. Anyway, I don't know very much Latin, but I do remember reading this phrase in a book about the Middle Ages. If it means what I think it means, it's certainly a strange motto. What do you think it means? Violet asked. If I'm not mistaken, said Klaus, who was rarely mistaken, memento mori means, remember you will die. Hey! Anyway, remember you will die, Violet repeated quietly, and the three siblings stepped closer to one another, as if they were very cold. Everybody will die, of course, sooner or later. Circus performers will die, and clarinet experts will die. And you and I will die, and there might be a person who lives on your block right now who is not looking both ways before he crosses the street, and who will die in just a few seconds. The windows are covered. I don't know why I bothered. All because of a bus. Everybody will die, but very few people. Sorry, few want to be reminded of that fact. The church. What is wrong with me today? Too much coughing. It's messed up my brain. The children certainly did not want to remember that they would die, particularly as they walked beneath the arch over Prufrock Prep. The Baudelaire orphans did not need to be reminded of this as they began their first day in the giant graveyard that was now their home. Okay. A little bit longer than I thought it would be. Not nearly as long as I feared. Let me know what you guys think. I can't wait to see what they do for the show. Oh, man. I love that show. I love the movie with Jim Carrey. I understand that a bunch of people didn't. But anyway, let me know down in the comments what you guys think. What you hope gets taken from the books and put into the show. What you hope they leave out, if there's anything. I suppose that's it for now. Until next time. Goodbye, everybody.